Again, Mr. Zamora, and I am here to explain 7V6. But before starting with the next activity, I want to clarify a few things about the slope. Remember, the slope is like how high or how long, how high or how low the line that we're going to draw is going to be drawn. All right, so for example, if we have a line like this, like something like this, okay, we usually are going to write lines, for example, like this, right? Okay. If our line is like this, it is going to be a positive slope. Yeah, it is going to be positive. Okay. But if our line is drawn like this, okay, for example, something like this, it is going to be a negative slope. Negative. Okay. So there are just two possibilities, positive or negative. All right. Sometimes our line is going to be let me write, or let me draw the same one. Let's say that this is our line. Okay, as you can see, I am going to zoom it so you can see better. As you can see, it is like touching every corner of the square. Okay, when we have this kind of slope, which, like, if we keep drawing it all the way down, yeah, it is going to draw an angle. Yeah, they're going to always draw an angle. If this angle is 45 degrees, well, you're not going to be measuring with the transportator. Like, you're just going to see, like, if it touches every corner of the square, it means that it has a 45 degrees. It means that the slope equals 1. Okay, the slope equals 1. All right, questions? So when the line is like this, like kind of perfect, or like this, for example, starting in here and it crosses like every corner in the square, it means that the slope is 1. Okay, this slope is 1, this slope is 1. If I draw 1 in here, this is slope, well, I went a little bit, this slope is 1. Okay, the slope is 1 in here also. Okay, depending on how high or how long it is drawn, it is going to be like more than 1 or less than 1. Example, I told you that this is 1, but what if our slope is something like this? Okay, something like this. Imagine that it is a mountain that we are climbing. Okay, like if we draw something like this. Okay, so this slope is less than 1. The slope in here is going to be less than 1. Okay, but what if our slope is something like this? Okay, something like this. Imagine this is a mountain. It is harder to climb the mountain, so it means that our slope is greater than 1. It could be 1.5, 2, 3, 4, 5. So depending, like, for example, for every square that we go to the right, we go 1, 2, 3 squares up. It means that this slope is around 3. Okay, in this case the slope equals or approximately 3. Okay, here for every square that we go to the right, we go 1 up. It means that the slope equals 1. And in here it's the opposite. For like if we start here, for every slope that we go up, we go 1, 2, 3, 4 to the right. Okay, it means that our slope here equals 1/4. You see, 1/4 is less than 1. The slope here is 1, and the slope here is 3. So depending, like if we go to something like this, here our slope, this is harder to climb than this. So this has to be the slope is going to be higher than 3, right? So depending on how the inclination is, it is going to be the value of the slope. Okay, one more. If the slope is like this, like for it touches every corner, it is going to be 1. If it is like this, it is going to be less than 1. And if it is going to be like this, if it is like this, it is going to be higher than 1. Okay, something else. We were seeing a few like lines that are, for example, like this. So let me just erase this one. Let me go a little bit down. Oopsie. Okay. Let's imagine that we have this other line right here. Okay. In here, okay, we have something called slope, and we have something also called the y-intercept. Okay, actually we have a graph. It is very easy to find the y-intercept. Okay, why? Because the y-intercept, you know that the y-axis is this one, right? Right, this one. This is our y-axis. So if somebody asks you, okay, what is the y-intercept for this line? Okay, so the y-intercept, you have to follow the line and you have to see in which point this line crosses the y-axis. So in this case, the y-intercept equals 6. 6 is our y-intercept for this line. Okay? Now, for this other line, the y-intercept equals like between 0 and 1. It can be something like 2/3 approximately. For example, the y-intercept for this line equals it's the y-intercept for this line equals, let's say, 2/3. Okay, and for this one, the y-intercept for this other one equals it is -5 and a little bit more, right? You can write it like 5.5. Imagine that it is the half right in the middle, or you can write it something like, I don't know, let's say 11 halves. Okay, yeah, we usually use fractions, proper or improper fractions. We don't use mixed numbers in equations. We usually don't use mixed numbers in equations. Okay, so for example, we use 11 halves, but we don't use 5 1/2. We usually don't use these kind of expressions in algebra. Okay. All right, so having said that, let's go to our problem. Let's go back to IXL, and we said that we were going to start with 7.V.6, write a linear function. So now we have a graph, okay? We have a graph, and we know that, okay, let me just print the screen, and we know that this graph is going to be a positive graph, right? This is going to be positive, okay? Because it is like this, okay? As you can see, the line is touching every square. So we know that the slope is going to be 1. There is a way to know exactly what the slope is, because sometimes it doesn't touch, but it's very close from touching it. So let me just remind you about this kind of formula. Mx plus C, okay? Or in other words, you can hit learn with an example, and they're going to be reminded. Well, they use B. We're going to use B. And remember this formula. The slope formula is the change in y divided by the change in x. We're going to use that formula to know the slope. All right. So yeah, we're going to change it for a B. Okay. This M is the slope. Okay. This M is going to be the slope, and this B is going to be our y-intercept. Okay, remember that the M is the slope and B is the y-intercept. Okay, so how do we know what the slope is going to be? So M is the change in y. Change in y divided by the change in x. Okay? To know that, I hope you remember how we got that. If you don't, I am going to remind you right now. Okay? You're going to choose 2 points. We have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 points to choose in this graph. You're going to choose only 2, whatever 2 you want to choose. So for this example, I am going to choose this one, right? This one, and also this one. Okay. Okay. So I am going to, because I am going to use that 60 later. You'll see why. Okay. So we're going to start from right to left, okay? This point is 40. Remember, first the x, 40, and in the y we have 100. It is 40, as you can see, and 100. This is our first coordinate, and our second coordinate is going to be 0 in x and 60 in y. All right, so the change in y equals, remember this is x and this is y, this is x and this is y. Okay, so the change in y, we're going to focus on y, 160. So equals 100, remember we start from right to left, minus, okay, minus the second y, which is 60, divided by the change in x. 40 minus the other x, 0, equals 100 minus 60 equals 40. 40 minus 0 equals 40. So the slope, or the m, equals 40 divided by 40 equals 1. So we know that this m is going to be 1. Okay? So we're going to write an equation which is going to be y equals 1x. Okay? And now we're going to see the y-intercept. We're going to follow this line, and when it touches the y-axis, we're going to find that number. So it touches it in the 60. And because it is positive, we're going to write plus 60. I repeat, we're going to write an equation for this line. First, every equation we're going to start something like this. Y equals, we can leave a space for the slope, and then we write an x. And here is going to be a plus or a minus, depending. And we're going to write another number here. To find this number, the second number, the number that is b, is very easy. To find this, you only need to follow the line, and when it crosses the y-axis, that number is going to be the number that is going to be right here. If it is positive, so we're going to write a plus. But sometimes the graph is going to be something like this, okay? It touches it in the negative 20, for example. So if it is negative, where it crosses the line, the equation is going to be, in this part, is going to be negative, minus something, only the number, okay? So for example, for this equation, it crosses this in the 60, positive 60, so it is plus 60. And to know this other number, the number that goes right here, we need to do this operation, the change in y divided by the change in x. Okay, so in this case, this is our thing. But remember, when the coefficient, or the number that is next to a variable, equals 1, we can erase that number. Okay, so our equation will be something like this: y equals x plus 60. Let's check if we are right. Okay, y equals x plus 60. Submit, and that's right. Okay, we have very short line in here. Next, so we're going to do our next equation. Okay, we're going to write our next equation. Remember, y, y equals m. Remember, m is the slope, and it is going to be put together with the variable x plus b. Okay, b is the y-intercept. So if you want, you can just write it right here, something like this: plus or minus and another number. So we follow this line, and it hits positive 80, so it is going to be a plus. So I am going to raise the negative symbol, and because it is 80, I am just going to write here 80. Now I only need to find the slope. Okay, I am going to write the x right here. It is always going to have an x here, x. Okay, so the change in y, so m equals the change in y. So this point is 2100, all right? 20, 100. Let's say that I'm going to use this point instead of this. So this point right here is 10 and 900. I mean 990. 10 and 90. All right. So I am going to start from right to left. So 100 minus this other y, 90, divided by 20 minus 10. 20 minus 10 equals, we do this operation, it equals 10. We do this operation, it equals 10. So m equals 1. So again, here we have 1. Remember, when we have 1, we can just like not include it because it is implied. So y equals x plus 80. Okay, y equals x plus 80. Awesome. Okay, as you can see, this line is not touching like in the others, like every corner of the square. So which means that this is going to be a positive like the others, but it is going to be higher than 1. Yeah, how high? I know how high because I can see that for every that we move to the x, we move 3 to the y. So it is going to be equal 3. Okay? But let's do it with the formula. Okay? I think this is the last where I'm going to help you, because otherwise the video is going to be too long. Actually, it's going to be long, but I don't want it to be too long. So we have this. Remember the formula. I am not going to write it again. I am just going to say that the slope equals the change in y. So here is a point that I am going to use, and here's another point that I am going to use. I can use also this one or this one. Okay, you can choose whatever point you want. So I write the coordinates, which is 300. This right here is 300 because it's between 2 and 400. So it is going to be 300. Sorry, I am going to, yeah, I made a mistake right here. Don't worry. So it is going to be 300, comma, and 900 right here. Okay. In here, it is 100, comma, 300 right here. All right. So remember, we're going to compare this and this and this with this, or we're going to do the operation. So 900 minus 300 equals 600. I am going to do it directly. I am not going to write the operation. I am just going to write the result. 900 minus 300 equals 600. 300 minus 100 equals 200. Okay, so it equals 600 divided by 200 equals 3. So the m equals 3. So our equation will be x equals 3, because this is right here, 3x, plus or minus, plus, in this case it crosses the 0, 3x plus 0, but if we add 0 to something, it is going to be the same as that something. So I can erase this plus 0. So y equals 3x. Okay? So let me write the answer 3x. Submit. Excellent. Okay. Okay, keep going, keep doing it. Let me know if you have any question via private message. I will try to answer it as soon as possible, as soon as I see it. And see you next video.